It's the show the establishment warned you about.
Yes, that's right. It's the Dr. Tommy Show. Welcome back. Broadcasting from the free state of Florida. I am your host, as always, Dr. Tommy McElroy. And I have a very special guest from down the road in Lutz. It's Dr. Monica Esposito.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. Happy to be here.
She is our, I guess she's a counterpart in Lutz for Concierge Medicine. I don't know if there's any others. I think it's just you and I, right? Concierge Medicine Lutz?
Yeah, I think right in this neck of the woods. There are some other people a little further down south and in Carrollwood, Wesley Chapel.
Yeah.
But we're kind of
we're
main peeps over here.
We're within shouting distance, actually. It's interesting because when I was, what was it? We were talking about earlier, I used to be in Wesley Chapel. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I wanted to move to here. I could not find a place. And this place has been down the road for me the whole time. And for some reason, I don't know what happened. We were driving by one day, and I think they cut the trees down or something, because there used to be more trees, believe it or not, than there are now, because my place has trees everywhere. And anyway, and I just saw it, and I happened to see the for lease sign. I was like, holy crap. And then I called, and here we are. Just worked out.
8 years later.
I know. It seems like it was, moving in here does not seem like it was 8 years ago. How'd you find your place?
I was working with an agent at the time, and I knew kind of what I was looking for, but trying to find it was a challenge. I mean, there are so many different places around town, and you get some really unique options. And I think for our model, you want to make sure that you put the right foot forward. It's in the right location. It's easy access, and keeping it easy, with ADA accessibility and all of that. It definitely makes a difference. And I mean, some places don't even have bathrooms in the offices. It's kind of strange.
It's interesting. You and I both know Radley Griffin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll tell a little story about Radley. When I was, this is not secret, so it's not a big deal. But when I was first coming out, 2008, I went to go visit and there wasn't many, it was like 3 concierge doctors in town. One was Radley. And there is a doctor named Dr. Robinson, Stacy Robinson, very popular, successful doctor in St. Pete. And then there's another doctor who's very long-term established physician, very successful, Dr. O'Neill. Mm-hmm. And all of them. Anyway, so I went to go see Dr. Griffin. He was fairly new. And I think Dr. Robinson was too. Anyway, he had the office that was as big as I just showed you my back office there. It was about that big. Plus, it had 2 little tiny rooms, kind of like the room I showed you in the front. That was it. Yeah. And they didn't have a bathroom. They had a community bathroom. So you had to go to the bathroom and then bring back your cup, I guess. But that's how Radley started. Now you know how Radley is. It ain't like that anymore.
No,
but anyway,
it's evolved.
Humble beginnings, but yeah.
Hey, whatever works, I think I've seen counterparts, especially people more in the direct primary care realm that are less concierge model. And, they start out very small, sharing offices, but it works. And as long as you have the space to see the patients and do your charts and everything, whatever works.
Yeah. When I first started, I was looking for a room, really. That's all I wanted, because I started at USF in 2010. In 2010 I started, and I left there in 2012. Okay. Just about when I planned. I planned on leaving after 2 years. Mm-hmm. Because I always wanted to do this since I was like a first year intern, concierge medicine. Anyway, so I was looking for places, but only money I had was what I had just taken from my savings from USF. That's all I had. All I had was not savings from USF, but the retirement. So I had I don't know, $30,000 or something like that, which is a good amount of money.
It goes fast.
But yeah, exactly. If you're starting off completely from nothing, I tell you, those first few years, I worked a lot in urgent care. I worked 40 hours a week in urgent care, plus doing what I did. And Tracy and I first started back together 2013, right off the bat. And we weren't married then. We were both married. Well, actually, I was divorced by then, but she was married to her previous husband. So, but anyway, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. It's interesting how things evolve. And I think if you talk to most people that go into this side of things and start, hang your own shingle, go out and do your own thing, I think the majority of us have to do some sort of side work.
Yeah.
It's expensive to do the startup costs, but that's really not what gets you. What gets you is that time frame before you start becoming profitable,
Sure.
where you're working and you're bringing in a little bit of something and it's enough to cover some costs, but not necessarily give yourself a paycheck yet.
Sure.
And I think people underestimate how much time and energy and money goes into it to actually get to that break even point where, okay, this is actually more sustainable on its own and it kind of does its own thing.
Yeah, and you and I were talking before about the old way to do things, the way you and I both worked in other practices before, and you have to make compromises with things, with your care, your availability, and then you have to deal with the pushback you get from them, like, oh, you have to see more people, blah blah blah. And so then we were like, well, that's what the default is. Because to do it alternative, like what you and I are doing, like you said, is difficult unless you're wealthy. I mean, unless you have like whatever, which is fine. If you are, it's great. But if you don't have like a huge amount of money to invest or something, it's hard. That's why people don't do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of hidden challenges. I mean, number one, obviously the finances, like we discussed. Number two, the fact that medical school does not do anything to help us set up our own places. No. We're really kind of groomed to be cogs in the system. We're set up.
That's a great way of putting it. And it's accurate. Groomed is an accurate way of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the medical knowledge is there, but we're not set up to be able to do any sort of business aspects within medicine at all.
I went to a very progressive, when I say progressive, I mean, they did do this type of training for residency, USF Morton Plant Meese. And it was run by Morton Plant Meese. USF was the name, but Morton Plant Meese ran it, funded it, everything. And Dr. Sourbeer was one of the guys who was in our program, and he was one of the guys that started what used to be called Morton Plant Meese Primary Care Physicians, and it all got rolled into Baycare. Anyway, he and his father started that program. He's very business savvy. And so they taught us a lot, and they were open to exploring new things. Like when I went to the program director at the time, it was Dr. I can't believe I forgot his name. He'll feel sad if I told him. I remember. The thing about doing podcasts is like your brain's going a certain way, and then certain parts of your brain are like, even though you know it,
it's under the rubble.
Yeah, good Lord. Anyway, the program director at the time said, yeah, I know some people. And then he put me in touch with other people. So. But yeah, you're right. Medical school grooms you to be an insurance doctor, prescribing medicines, ordering tests. Yep. Very disciplined about that.
And I mean, we learn a lot of really valuable information, but I think it's nice to progress more as the field evolves and, teaching people to be free thinkers, to continue to question and to keep up with the new literature in terms of medical care, but also to be able to say, okay, well, if the system's not doing what I expect it to do or what I want it to do or what I think it should, having the ability to be, okay, let's figure out our way out of this. Let's figure out a way that we can do this in a way that we think maybe it's better than what we're doing right now, at least for our purposes. And obviously medicine is not one size fits all by any means, but I think the direction that we took is better for you and I. And ultimately I think it serves our patients so well. Yeah, it's a different animal.
Yeah, and then there's direct primary care too, because we're talking before too. There's a certain price that's involved with being in a membership practice, whether it be direct primary care or concierge medicine. And honestly, direct primary care in some places is so inexpensive. I mean, I swear people probably spend more on soft drinks in a month than they would on a complete direct primary care membership. It's insane.
Yeah, but cut out the Starbucks and you're golden.
Yeah. I tell you, man, people that are saying, "Oh, I can't go to the doctor because I don't have insurance," that's so unfortunate because direct primary care is available to almost anybody, like I said.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that the vast majority of people have no idea it even exists. No. I am really routinely educating people because even when I come across people that maybe are not in the realm of wanting a concierge physician and don't want that type of level of care, if they don't have insurance and they don't have the concierge money, but they want to have access to a physician and be able to get their labs and keep up with basic health, I mean, a lot of them, especially if they're keeping the money from insurance, can still afford a DPC practice. Absolutely. And I mean, keeping accessibility to care and not going years and years without anything to suddenly end up in the ER with something major and catastrophic and the absolute ridiculous truckload of bills that comes with it, it's better. I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, if you're interested, actually go to dpcfrontier.com and you can find. I think they list. Well, they have them listed there too. So they list direct primary care and concierge medicine. And Dr. Josh Umber, who runs Atlas MD, is really one of the great voices out there who's promoting direct primary care and direct care in general. We have Atlas MD as our EMR, but he's like, yeah. Oh, the guy I forgot, his name is Dr. Bruce Fleureau. So he was a very interesting guy too. He was our program director. And we had talked about alternative careers. You were saying your career before. His previous career, he actually used to make stained glass overhang lamps. So you remember Pizza Hut back in the day?
Who could forget?
He said he made a lot of those.
Interesting.
That was his job beforehand. And he was also an interesting guy. What else did he do? Oh, I forgot. He was a scuba diver. Anyway, but he came to medicine late in life. And he was our program director, and then he moved on to Baycare. I think he's retired now, but he was very successful. But yeah, that was the flavor of Morton Plant Meats. It was very good. It still is a very good program.
Nice.
Where did you go to undergrad, or where'd you go to training and all that?
Well, I'm a Gator girl. I did University of Florida for undergrad, and then I was at LECOM in Bradenton, which is how I ended up in the Tampa Bay area.
Okay, yeah. We used to have them. They used to have those students rotate with us at Morton Plant.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember. Family medicine, they would come in. We get them, we get USF, and we get occasionally Florida State. We didn't really get too many UF, but yeah, we get Florida State. And I think LECOM, though, they're very good students. They're very, seems like they're more, if I had to compare it to, like, for instance, Florida State students, not to degrade them, but they're more willing to jump in. I don't know why that is.
I think the way we learn the curriculum is a little different than most schools in the country. So that campus, we use something called problem-based learning, which really worked well for me, which is part of the reason that I ended up there versus some of the other places. And basically, a lot of our curriculum, instead of it being classroom-based where we go and sit and somebody, talks to us for 60 minutes, we would sit in these little subgroups. We'd have a person, a physician or somebody that was kind of the lead of the group. And then we would have a group of 6 to 8 other, medical students. And when we go through, we would have a case. And as we learn different things in the case, we would discuss, okay, these are the things that we need to learn about to understand the case. And we would choose specific, pathology chapters, specific physiology, specific biochem, to make sure that we learn the foundations to understand and solve what's going on with the patient. So when we assess these patients and everything, or there are theoretical patients, we are already learning to think more like doctors.
Okay, and you started that early?
Yeah, so that our first 2 years of medical school, we had that. And then we had, anatomy lab. We had our OMT lab, which is our hands-on version that we do as DOs.
Right.
But it was nice because when I started in clinicals right out the gate, when I'm approaching a patient, I already have the mindset of thinking like a doctor versus thinking like a student.
That's cool.
I think it was nice.
Yeah, we had something similar. It was called, how was it called? It was something about clinical, but it's basically the same, similar to what you're talking about. It was a portion of our, it wasn't a big part of it, but it was a nice part. And actually that was my, not the only part, but basically the only part that I enjoyed is first and second year.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's like,
It's fun.
thank goodness. Yes.
You see that you actually enjoy what you're going
Right.
into.
It's like, there is something, there is a
light.
reason to learn all this. Because I tell you, not microbiology. Well, I do as a microbiology undergrad, so I knew that was what it was. But I tell you, like biochemistry and stuff like that, and med school is just like, ugh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm glad.
We all have our trials.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a DO.
I am.
And how much of that manipulative practice would you say you do? Because I do sports medicine, which is not a DO, but patients sometimes will say, "Oh, you're just a sports medicine doctor because whatever." I said, "Well, that's minimal amount of what I do. It's probably 20%, maybe more." But anyway, how much manipulation or that? And maybe not even the manipulation, but the I guess it's hard for you to say because you don't have, you're only DO trained, so you can't know what it's like just to be MD trained. But I know you my wife goes to see you, and you told her something about draining her she had ear congestion or
Gall
something.
breath technique.
Yeah. And so how much of that kind of alternative, I guess you say, or therapeutic touch therapy, does that come into play with your patients?
I think it kind of varies. You know, we're trained pretty extensively on, they call it OMT or osteopathic muscle manipulation. And we have the ability to do a lot of kind of what the chiropractics is based upon. So all the, the snap, crackle, pop type stuff, but also using muscle energy to help realign when, things go awry, so to speak. And I think that my knowledge base there is really helpful in guiding patients towards the right things. I would say I treat a small subset of that with the hands-on treatments. I'm very cautious about doing any of the things that involve cracking or more aggressive treatments, just because there's quite a few contraindications. We get, especially with the elderly, osteoporotic patients and things along those lines. So, some of those can be a little bit riskier depending on the patient population, but a lot of the muscle energy techniques can be really great. I mean, I've helped with, sinus and drainage issues and, eustachian tube dysfunction, which causes the ear pain and issues. I use it for, muscle spasticity as kind of an added tool in my pocket. I do it for, piriformis syndrome. And I just had a patient that had terrible sciatica, and that was one of the things that we used to help try to treat he had some sacral and iliac dysfunction, and things were off kilter because his piriformis was spasming.
That's interesting.
And, it was a nice way to be able to help that, you're not being invasive. You're not having to,
you don't have to prescribe anything.
A whole bunch of, prednisone or things along those lines.
Whatever.
So it's an added tool that we can kind of use on a case by case, depending upon what people need.
Yeah, I wish we had been taught about it more, but we weren't. Just because we weren't. But I remember I was working with Dr. Brunson down in St. Pete once. Adam Brunson, very successful doctor, and he's sports medicine too. And this when I was a student or fellow, I can't remember. Anyway, he was telling me, he's like, I said, I have a headache, and he said, well, okay, well, lay down here. I said, okay. And he said, well, he had a student that rotated with him, and the student was osteopath or was a doctor. I can't remember. Anyway, it was just, somehow he got exposed to that, and he showed him some stuff, and he's like, all right, relax. I'm like, okay. He starts pulling the back of my head, and he's like, relax. I'm like, all right, I'm relaxed. And then he just like pulls and pulls and pulls, and then he goes, and boom, my headache went away like that. I was like, damn, that's cool.
It's incredible how much people get headache issues stemming from the cervical spine and all of those cervical paraspinal muscles. I mean, people, I think a lot of times think that they have migraines.
Yes.
And oftentimes they're not actually migraines, the tension headaches.
Yeah, and
from
you get
that muscle
Botox and all
tension.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like you're
Very
talking
treatable.
about, we're groomed. And I tell patients this too. I said, I don't know if I tell them when they join or whatever, or sometimes it'll just come up. But I tell patients, when you see a quote unquote insurance doctor, a lot of times it's like, all right, here's 7 minutes. Patient walks in the door. They start talking. You start writing.
Got the timer set.
And you say, and your options are treat, prescribe, or evaluate further, prescribe, refer. And that's your basically triage and stuff. I mean, there's no other way. And you can evaluate some stuff, but it's usually like not evaluate by doing exams. It's like X-ray, MRI, or refer, or cyclobenzaprine, and then boom, out the door. So they miss like a big portion.
It's a shame because there are so many very competent, very qualified,
Absolutely.
honestly exceptional physicians that work in fee-for-service. But the problem is that they are still stuck in those confines, and you could be the most brilliant physician in the world, but if you don't have time to do a full comprehensive exam, if you don't have time to get the full picture of what's going on with a constellation of symptoms, number one, things get missed. Number two, patients feel like they're getting gaslit, like their concerns aren't really heard.
Absolutely.
And number three, it forces us to refer out to our specialist colleagues with things that we can ultimately treat as primary care physicians. I mean, there's a lot of things that are under our belt that we're comfortable with, but when you have these really brief periods to see the patient, we can't manage, their 15 chronic conditions on our own unless we have the time to do so.
Yeah. I tell patients, I say, same thing you said. I said, those are great doctors, and you're a good patient. Problem is the system, in my opinion, is you are a necessary evil, both of you. The patient and the doctor are a necessary evil. The real work product is a code. The code gets sent to an insurance company and it transfers a payment. And if there was a way to eliminate the patient and the doctor and still get that code, they would be completely fine with that. And you've seen that happen a lot of ways where they're eliminating doctors by removing them either from the room with telehealth or from the room physically with a PA or a nurse practitioner, which they have their roles. But I'm just saying, remove the doctor completely from the argument. And then patients are already basically removed, and they're not actually the product. They are codes. Patients are a way to generate codes. And but they're both, I think, abused by the system, and the system being the fee-for-service, insurance-based, code-based system that we have.
Well, now you even see there's a push about, getting AI and having
Absolutely.
AI replacing
I told a
physicians.
patient that
It's
too.
wild.
I said there'll be a time in the future where your option will be to go to a kiosk, put your finger in a thing, it will
Check
get your blood,
vitals or whatever.
yeah, check your vitals, and then there will be an AI printout or even an AI doctor talking to you, generated voice, generated everything, and that way. And he said, "Well, I'd be into that." So some people are into that, and that's completely fine. But what they're trying to do is supplant traditional relationship-based medicine with that, or this other way that we talked about it, this very abbreviated cursory exam as the norm. And the way they're trying to supplant that or make that happen is making it is the only market. So right now, like, people are forced to buy insurance. So people are forced to pay insurance prices. There is no free market for medical care. Now, you and I know different ways to get prices that are kind of free market prices, but there is no actual free market. We're kind of like doing black market. I mean, it's not illegal, but in order to find the things that we know, it's like you have to know the ins
The
and
right
outs.
people and
You're not going to be able to just
figure it
walk
out.
into the imaging center and be like, "Hey, I'm here for the cash X-rays." They'll be like, "Well, who referred you?" Blah blah. You know. So.
Well, it definitely helps. And, I'm sure you have the same thing, but it's nice to be able to offer that higher level of care to a mix of people that have insurance and people that don't.
Yeah.
I mean, insurance is not necessarily for everyone. There are people that opt to have their rainy day fund and, work outside of insurance. And, we're able to provide that higher level care and get them set up with what they need. And I have people that use more like the catastrophic plans as well.
Yeah. If there was a way that we could go to where we made real catastrophic insurance legal again, that would solve every problem. Because then you'd have the option of getting what is now the law that you have to have certain covered things. If you could you could say, "Look, I'm here to buy insurance." Okay, what would you like? Would you like the one that covers the mandatory things that the government has said is the correct things, or do you want one that covers only after $100,000? They can choose. And I would choose the one after $100,000, but that's illegal now. You can't buy that plan. It's illegal to buy true catastrophic, only covers after a certain amount of money. It's illegal.
Yeah.
And if they made that legal, it would solve everything, because then they would be introduced to market. But there's reasons for that, and it's beyond the scope. But anyway, you go by, we're talking earlier, I want to tell this story. So I go by Dr. Tommy just because different reasons. But anyway, that's kind of like my thing. And then patients call me that, whatever, it's fine. And then you go by Dr. Esposito, Dr. Monica.
Yeah, I think most people call me Dr. Esposito or Dr. E, but
Dr. E.
Everybody has their own thing that they kind of get comfortable with, and I'm relatively flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to tell the story. The reason I brought that up is there was a lady, and we were talking about sometimes people just call you by your first name right off the bat, and it's just like, whatever. I was interviewing once for this corporate medicine gig after I was leaving USF, because I thought I want to do one more year under the umbrella of a corporate place just to get some more money. And I interviewed with this group here in town. It doesn't matter which one, because they're all there. But anyway, the lady who was the lady who was talking to me, I had talked to the head of the physicians group, and she was like the manager, right? And so we were nailing down the contract, right about to get there. And we're at the salary part, which is the most important part, right? And she starts telling me, well, the average is this. I said, well, I'm sports medicine. She goes, that's the average for sports medicine. And I said, no, according to the MGMA dashboard, it's not. You used to be able to see the dashboard then without paying.
Yeah, now it's all
And
restricted.
she goes, no, that came from the dashboard. I said, no, it's not. that dashboard says something different. And she goes, well, I'll look it up. I said, well, look it up. She goes, I'll look it up. I said, look it up. She goes, Tommy, I'm trying to tell you. And I said, and immediately when she told me, she called me by my name, Tommy, not because of anything, but just the way she said it, like, who are you, Tommy? I said, you know what? We're done here. It's so funny. But I don't know. I'm glad that I can do what we do because honestly, I told somebody before, I said, if I had to go back to doing it the other way, I would probably just quit medicine, honestly.
I mean, I get that, you know, when it was time to make this transition over, I was so disillusioned with how things were going and, you know, the corporate side of things and dealing with a lot of the red tape with insurance. And I felt like so much of our time was spent dealing with the billing and coding and overseeing, you know, the mid-levels and dealing with, you know, all of the craziness that we had to put on every chart because everything is about covering to make sure
Did
that
you talk to them about smoking? Well, they don't smoke.
And yeah, it's like, okay. And so much of that, it's like cutting through all the red tape instead of dealing with actual patient care, which I don't know any physician that you talk to in any area of medicine that would say that they went into, you know, things to deal with insurance and to deal with prior authorization phone calls and getting told that they can't get something done for their patient because
and all of
the
that
random person on the other end of the phone doesn't think that it's indicated.
All of that is, if you look in a lot of, like I still subscribe or I get sent emails from Medscape. I don't know if you get any of those. Mm-hmm. I just do that so I can keep in touch with like what goes on in the other, because I'm like divorced from that completely. Like every now and then we'll do prior authorizations, but
yeah, same.
Not a lot. But all that, like the grind of it, obviously coding, all that stuff is not done. But a lot of the Medscape articles have to do with like physician health and things like that. And they always talk about burnout. And they have all these different ways to where you can not get burned out. And I'm thinking, well, there's only really one way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing of how corporations use pizza parties to say thank you. And it's like, you know, the things that we actually need, the things that we would, you know, help to improve quality of life, morale, you know, people wanting to stay in traditional medicine. They're things that people are not willing to wiggle on, unfortunately.
How'd you come up with the name for your practice, Ascend?
Lots and lots of mulling and thinking things through. I liked the idea of achieving something higher level because ultimately the concept is that, you know, we can do better in healthcare and we can help people to not just fight disease, but actually beat disease, get ahead of it, you know, be more proactive instead of, you know, doing this reactive approach where, oh, you have diabetes, we have a pill for that. You know, work on treating these things before you get to the point that you're diabetic. You know, work on the diet and the exercise and all the preventative health that we can offer because there's quite a bit out there. And so I was trying to think of something that would basically capture that essence of this is not just to be healthier and like, you know, keep up with your general stuff. This is for a higher level and optimizing your health. And I felt like Ascend kind of gave that kind of vibe, I guess.
Did you ever think about doing DPC or was it always just concierge medicine?
You know, I mean, I thought about both sides and ultimately I sort of married the two. And I think you and I probably have this in common, but I don't know 100%. You know, I liked the direct model and that I didn't want to deal with insurance at all. You know, true concierge medicine in its true essence is you have your membership, but then you still charge insurance for certain things. I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted to disconnect entirely and just cut the cord. But with the regular DPC model, a lot of times you're still seeing a panel of, you know, closer to between, you know, 500, 600, 700 people, sometimes a little higher. And that's for me, I've never liked feeling rushed. You know, even back in school, I was always the person that I was very particular. I was very, you know, calculated. I want to cover everything really thoroughly. And it drove me nuts feeling like I had to rush through every encounter. And so I was like, well, how many patients would I need and how much would make sense for number one, the area that we're in, because it's, you know, it's its own specific little beast here. It's a fairly, you know, nice, affluent kind of area. So you have to deal with the clientele that are in front of you. But also, how many patients did I want to have under my belt? How many would make me feel, number one, happy and, you know, balanced with my life? Because ultimately, I'm a physician, but I'm also a mother and a wife. And, I have more than, I have the business hat to wear now. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of plates in the air. But also the fact that I want to feel like I'm giving everything to those patients. I don't want it to be where I feel like, oh, well, I can see you next week. I want it to be, okay, you have a problem. I'm going to see you later today, or I'm going to see you first thing tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
And get people in when they actually need you.
Yeah.
And in order to accomplish that, and in order to keep these longer appointments, my intake appointments are 90 minutes. My follow-ups are 60. In order to keep that, you can't have a big panel.
Yeah.
So, my panel will be officially closed somewhere between 250 to 300. That's going to largely depend on the specific clientele and how frequently they're needing my services. And, basically being the boss has its perks. I can close it when I feel like I need to.
Exactly.
If I feel like, hey, we're starting to get kind of busy here and, my free time is, less frequent and I want to make sure that I keep that accessibility, really clear and open, then I'll close it sooner.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest thing I think for me is making sure that I'm not losing sight of why I did this and what I want to be able to provide for my patients and my members.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because you can go from one hamster wheel to a different one.
100%.
And it's like, okay, what to do that for? If I was going to be on a hamster wheel, I just might as well have stayed where someone else is paying the rent and everything.
Yeah, the consistency. I mean, business definitely has its downfalls. There's a lot of different things to keep up with. You have a lot of things there's a learning curve. There's a lot that we have to kind of keep up with outside of regular medicine, but having that ability to have physician autonomy, number one, and ultimately, autonomy over the business, because we have the control to adjust and adapt based on our needs and our patient needs. And one of the things that I constantly say to my patients and anybody that I talk to about this kind of model of care is, as a physician, it's my job to help guide people on healthier paths. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. If I'm telling my patients, hey, make sure that you're, not burning the candle at both ends,
Right.
that you're taking time for yourself, make sure that you're having time for exercise on a routine basis, that you're, eating healthy, that you're drinking all your water throughout the day. If I'm saying these things and I'm not doing them myself, that's hypocritical, right? So I try as much as I can to practice what I preach. If I'm not maintaining that balance and quality of life, if I'm not getting my, huge drinks of water, which I always have like a big jug with me every day. My patients laugh at me for it.
Do you have a Stanley? Or do you use
No,
something else?
I have like this big, basic
Even
Walmart
bigger.
64-ounce jug that I drink out of throughout the day.
Tracy has a giant Stanley. It's like if it knocks over, it's like a building fell. So does Kaylee.
The ground shakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, these things are much easier to maintain if you're not. When I was in my old job, I was working the normal 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I had a 45-minute commute each direction. I usually would chart and work through lunch with questions from staff and my charts and all the other, we had our bubbles, if you will. I'm sure you're very familiar with the bubble system where you have all the different messages and labs and things you have to review in your quote unquote free time.
You know what I did? I got out of there before that happened.
Oh gosh.
That's new.
Well,
I know
good
about
for
it.
you.
That's why I keep in touch with Medscape.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
the
that
bubbles.
became, what's funny to me is when I have friends that are still doing that, primary care wise, and they'll get messages from their patients and they have to answer the message directly from the patient. And what I think is like, okay, so they're basically doing like concierge medicine.
But not getting paid for it.
Exactly. I'm like,
Because you're not
sucks.
billing for those encounters.
Right.
And-
And it's out of your time.
And where do you
You're
draw
not
the
getting
line?
paid extra from your company. They're like, this is now part of your job. What I did do though was urgent care, and I got a flavor of that. Urgent care is very convenient for people, and I think urgent care is important. But urgent care, when I was doing urgent care as a physician, it's a grind. You're seeing like 35 patients a day. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I find, I guess, for the lack of better words, irritating about the whole thing is that because it's become so much about patient satisfaction and being pushed to make sure that people are all giving you positive reviews, it's like you have to prescribe something for everybody.
Absolutely. Oh,
and
yes.
ultimately, it's like, trying to be appropriate with antibiotic stewardship and when you're supposed to actually be prescribing, the steroid packs and everything, it's
what?
like goes out the window, forget about it.
I think I got like disciplined or whatever several times for not doing what they told me to do. Meaning
Can't
the patient.
treat a virus with antibiotics. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I got disciplined. And it's funny because the discipline comes from God knows who. I know they're not clinical. I don't know who they are.
No. It's about the bottom line and making sure
gosh.
patient
But
satisfaction
that type of
stays,
thing
but-
drives you crazy.
Well, and ultimately, I mean, as business owners, we have to think about patient satisfaction, of course.
Yeah.
But ultimately, my job above everything else is keeping my patients healthy and doing right by them.
Yeah, you have to be
And
upfront with them, or at least we
just
do.
explain.
Yeah. So look, this is how I do things, and I think that's important, and that's what helps us when you have a personal relationship, is they understand. Look, this is the way I run things from a doctor standpoint. I don't do X, Y, or Z that way necessarily. Whatever. So at least they have informed consent, so to speak, about just the way it's going to be. And it's not a dictatorial thing. It's just like, I'm not going to prescribe you antibiotics for every cold that you have. And if you want that, then I'm not your guy.
No. And ultimately, I think when you have time to properly educate patients on pretty much anything, it's amazing how much better things go. I mean, when you're talking about even like, diabetic patients, the patients with a viral upper respiratory infection, on what to do for that versus, the whole antibiotic thing, when they understand the reasoning and what you actually recommend and have
sometimes they've never been told that. I've actually had
they don't realize. Yeah.
I've told people, and this happens fairly frequently, pink eye, pink eye.
Yeah.
I need drops. I said, well, okay, I can prescribe drops, and here's and I tell them there's a virus or an allergy. The drops won't do anything. I have seen one patient once who had an allergic reaction, and their cornea thickened with drops. So there's that. If it's a bacterial infection, then they will help. This is the things you can do, but it takes a lot of work. I mean, what I just told you is abbreviated version. It takes longer than that. And in urgent care, there's no time for that, and people don't want that.
Yep. They want the instant gratification.
Exactly. I'm here for drops.
Yep.
And back to your AI point, urgent care would be beautiful for AI. If they passed a law to where urgent care somehow, or doctors they would fire every doctor immediately. There would be one doctor left, and he would be somewhere like in Nebraska or something, connected by Wi-Fi, and there'd be 100 charts up, and he'd go through and click, 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 approve. And I think the insurance companies would be fine with that, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Although it brings up a big question. When you're dealing with AI, who's liable if patients get harmed or
The doctor.
killed?
That's the bad part about it is, hey, the doctor was supposed to approve all those. Doctor approved them. Doctor so-and-so approved them in Nebraska, Wi-Fi, remotely. Put him in jail. Take away his license.
Yep.
Yeah. They squeeze you so bad. Oh, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Wild.
So I don't know if I thought it was interesting, so I'll just ask you. You said you were a professional athlete?
I used to teach dance.
Oh, that's right. Teach dance. So talk about that for a little bit.
So I ended up getting very into Latin dance, mostly during college. I grew up in South Florida, so it was around. But I was more formally trained once I was in college at UF, and I kind of just picked it up really quickly and ended up teaching during my time while I was in undergrad. And for a year afterwards, I had a year gap in between going through undergrad and then starting medical school. I ended up working as a research fellow, but I taught salsa, merengue, bachata, and cha-cha
In Janesville?
on the side. Yeah.
Where at? Not that I would know, but
It was a place called Salsa Caliente. I don't think it's actually around anymore. I think it's changed since then. It's been a minute. But yeah, so I did some performances and taught the dance. And
you do dance? Do you still dance?
Not like I used to. I think motherhood, honestly, between COVID and becoming a mom, they kind of put a damper on those things. But it's something that I want to get back into a bit more.
What a great exercise, huh?
It's amazing exercise, and honestly, I think it's really good for mental health.
My daughter loves to dance.
You can't, if you go in there sad, mad, whatever, you always come out with a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's hard to dance and not probably smile,
Yeah, no, I love it.
My 8-year-old loves to dance. She's actually, I told her, I said, you're going to be a choreographer, because she puts music on like her phone or my phone, and she'll make up dances. And it's funny because they're completely different. Like some of the dances are kind of like, I don't know, like more like happy, and some are kind of more serious. And she watches videos. It's so funny, but she loves to dance.
That's a good love to keep. It's great for your health, both mental and physical. And honestly, I think it's kind of like a lifelong love. It's not something that you really have to get rid of as you age. You can adopt and new different things and adjust it to age. I mean, when I taught classes, I had a huge variety of people coming through. You know, people in their 60s that are coming in that just wanted to get into doing a little dancing, and it's not high impact. And then I had, teenagers and stuff that came in, and it's people from all walks of life, but it's a cool way to bring together, the public and share a common goal and enjoy.
Do you go back to Gainesville much anymore or ever?
Not much. I really want to actually go back for a game one of these days. I mean, I was there
They got a new coach,
Oh, I know.
It's very exciting. I mean, I haven't been there, but I know from just reading emails and stuff, the city's very excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we had that really high level of play in the football field. I mean, basketball, we've been doing great.
Put you on the spot, but when you were there, was football successful or not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was there. So I started right after we won a national championship with Chris Leak. And then I was there during the Tebow era.
So you and I both were there
Tebow.
when things were going great. Because I was there. We had just won the national championship. It was just like you. 96.
It was a great time to be there.
Yeah, so I was there from 96 to 2000. It was like the glory years. And you were there for the second glory years. But between then, it's been the dark ages.
Yeah, it's so hard. You get used to this really high level of play, and you get all amped up. And I'm not a fair weather fan. I'm always going to watch and root for them, regardless of if we're great or we're terrible. And it is what it is.
They're redoing the stadium too.
That's crazy.
They're doing I think they're tearing out a bunch of seats and putting in more luxury stuff, which is the way to go for financial.
Yeah, I was going to say the alums and stuff.
They can sell those seats. It doesn't matter. They
People
can
will
ask
spend stupid
anything.
money on that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
USF, they're building a stadium too.
Yeah,
and
right down the road, stone's throw.
Yeah, I got a thing for it. I think the sideline seats are going for like $3,000. Yeah, so they're not taking any time to ramp up. But when I was at USF for medical school, my buddy and I, Spencer, we used to always think, man, why don't they build a stadium? And then we thought, well, they'll never build a stadium. Now they're actually building a stadium. So it'd be cool to go there too.
That program's on its way up too.
Yeah.
They've become much more legitimately recognized, more nationwide now that
I think they beat UF last year, didn't they? I don't know. They beat us at one point. I know that.
Yeah, they have before. I'm trying to think if it was last year.
Can't remember. I mean, honestly, when I first went to when I was at UF, I remember the first loss at home. There was a streak. I can't remember how long the streak was. Maybe 41 games at home. It was Alabama beat us at home. And I went to Publix the next day on 34th Street. And I remember walking around Publix, and it was like a funeral, the whole city. I mean, there was nobody talking.
People take football very seriously in Gainesville.
But now losses happen all the time. It's like I can't even remember the last time USF, if they beat them or not. Heck, we lost to a Division II school once. I remember walking out of that stadium thinking, I never thought this could happen. Central, what was it? I can't remember right off the head, but they were a good school, but they were Division II good school.
Yeah, it's not the expectation, right?
I'm going to just show them your website here.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see. This is Ascend Concierge Medicine right up the street here.
That's me.
And Lutz. And then if they want to get in touch with you, how do you just have them go through the inquire here? There it is right there.
Yeah, so they can do that.
Here.
It depends on preference if they want to go through tech or not.
Yeah.
The Inquire here, you submit some basic information and it sends us the little notification. So we reach out directly via email or phone, but they're more than welcome to call the office. And I mean, we're around.
And you take men and women, but I think you have an age. At what point?
Yeah, so typically I see 18 and above.
18, okay.
It's something that, technically I'm trained and I could see all ages, but with especially the younger kids, there's so much with all the vaccines and everything that if you're not seeing a large volume, and to be honest, adult is more kind of my preference of what I've been accustomed to seeing a lot of. I would be flexible a little bit on that if I had patients that were existing that had, teenage children or something that they wanted to enroll. But in terms of the younger kids, I stick to sending those to my physician colleagues that deal more predominantly with the pediatric population.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having
me. Great to finally meet you.
Likewise.
And we look forward to seeing you back on again. Dr. Tommy Show, go to drtommyshow.com. If you're interested in coming in to talk to Dr. Esposito, as you heard, that's how you get in touch with her. And if you want to come see me, same thing. Just go to the website, drtommy.com, not Dr. Tommy Show. And until next time, we will see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's the